You want me to hand over the key today, on the day of the funeral? Dad, stop being dramatic. It's just organizing things. Organizing. Ethan Carter's voice came out scraped raw, as if he still had dirt in his throat. Your mother isn't even cold yet, and you're already talking about deeds. Logan let out an impatient sigh from the other side of the room. Mia crossed her arms, staring at the wall like someone waiting for an elevator. It's not about that, Mia said, too fast. It's about safety, about the future. Whose future? Ethan stared at the two of them. Because my future, apparently, ended in the coffin with your mother. Logan took a step closer, with that sun tone that thinks he's being rational. The doctor already said you can't be alone. The house is big, man. You can barely climb stairs. We're going to decide what's best. Decide? Ethan gripped the arm of the armchair. You didn't ask me anything. Mia tilted her face, as if offering compassion, but her gaze was cold. Dad, we need to talk about inheritance, to avoid confusion later. The word hung in the air, heavy, indecent. Ethan took a deep breath and felt his chest ache where there used to be a hug. You're in a hurry to bury me too. The living room still smelled like funeral flowers. The arrangement on the coffee table looked like a mocking reminder, pretty on the outside, rotting on the inside. In the corner, a photo of Grace Carter smiled in a silver frame, as if she were there watching everything, in silence. Ethan wasn't a weak man. He was just broken. Grace had been the axis of the house for 32 years. The voice that calmed, the hand that adjusted, the person who made the children seem like children. Without her, the house was just walls and self-interest. In the last few weeks, Ethan slept badly, ate worse, and wandered the house as if searching for a shadow that wouldn't come back. Grace's death had come fast, dry, like a slammed door. Aggressive cancer, a few months between diagnosis and goodbye. The kind of farewell that doesn't give you time to learn how to breathe alone. And now, on the first day without the wake, on the first day without condolences and without fake hugs, his own children were there, not with care, not with presence, but with urgency. Ethan tried to stand, his legs complained. The dizziness came with the same violence as a bad memory. Logan extended a hand, but it wasn't help, it was control. Dad, sit. Don't do this. Don't do what? Ethan yanked his arm away. Be the owner of my own house? Mia walked to the hallway, grabbed a folder that was already ready on top of the sideboard, far too ready to be a coincidence, and came back. We just want you to sign, then we'll see the rest. Ethan looked at the folder, papers organized, clips aligned, a pen strategically left on top, as if his life were just a form, and then, in some point deep in his chest where he still kept some kind of faith, he felt something. It wasn't noise, it wasn't vision, it was a raw, almost physical premonition, as if Grace were saying without a voice, don't sign. Ethan had been raised with the simple idea that some people, even when they're gone, still leave signs, not ghosts, not movie miracles, small signs, the size of the truth. He pushed the folder back. Not today. Logan locked his jaw. So when? When I'm ready. Mia let out a short laugh, humorless. Dad, you're never going to be ready. You'll just stall until you get worse. The sentence was said as if it were concern, but the glint in her eye was calculation. Ethan stood up again, stubborn, and walked to Grace's photo. He ran a finger along the frame, feeling the cold metal. I promised your mother I wouldn't let go of this house unless it was necessary. Logan turned his face away, irritated. Always her, always the promise. But now she's not here. The ones here are us. Ethan stared at his son. And that's exactly why I'm afraid. If you're listening to this story now, don't leave, because what looks like a family argument turns, fast, into a war inside the house itself. And, without breaking the mood, go ahead and hit like, subscribe to the channel, and comment where you're watching from, because this story is going to get heavy before it gets fair. The day fell outside like a gray curtain, and the days that followed didn't bring morning, they brought strategy. Logan started showing up early in the morning to help with the meds, but always with an eye on the stairs, on the bedrooms, on the office where Ethan kept documents. Mia started calling all the time, asking details no one asks out of affection. Did you pay the property tax? Is there insurance? Is everything up to date with the deed? Ethan tried to convince himself it was their desperation, anxiety, fear of life. But the truth is, he knew his own children. He knew the tone when they were sincere. He knew the pause when they were hiding something. In the second week, the first sign happened. Small, silent, almost ridiculous. Ethan opened the nightstand drawer to get a pill and noticed the brown envelope Grace kept there was gone. It was a simple envelope, no label, nothing written. Grace had never explained what it was. She would only say, laughing, "One day you'll thank me for being stubborn." Ethan searched, rummaged through drawers, checked the dresser. Nothing. He wanted to believe he'd put it somewhere else, that his mind was confused. But then he noticed something else. The lock on the hallway cabinet, where documents were kept, had recent marks, as if someone had tried to force it or mess with it. Small scratches, shining under the light. Ethan felt his mouth go dry. The house was full of people, and at the same time, he was alone. The next night, he woke up to footsteps. Not heavy footsteps, careful footsteps. The house was dark. The clock read 2:17. Ethan tried to get up, but his body didn't respond fast. His heart beat too loud. He stayed sitting, listening. The sound came from the hallway, a door opening slowly, the office door. Ethan wanted to call out, wanted to shout. His throat seized as if it had sand in it. He forced his legs, but they trembled, useless. The feeling was of being trapped inside himself, awake, aware, and too slow to exist. From the hallway, low voices. Logan. Mia. "Did you find it?" Logan whispered. "No," Mia replied, irritated. "But he won't hold out much longer. We push harder. And if there's something, some letter, some of Mom's idiocy?" Mia let air out through her nose. Grace wasn't an idiot. She was controlling. If she left something, it's because she wanted to boss people around even after she died. Ethan squeezed his eyes shut. That hurt more than her absence. It hurt for him, for the time he'd placed love on top of people who now spoke like strangers. "Then do it the way I told you," Logan said. "We call Dr. Miller, say he's unstable, that he's forgetting things, that he's dangerous. And if he resists?" "He won't resist," Logan replied, with a frightening calm. "He can barely stand." Ethan tried to stand again. His hands slipped on the sheet. He felt his vision spin. His body felt like a locked room, and the key had been thrown away. Mia's voice dropped even lower, like poison in a glass of water. "The house is ours, Logan. All that's left is for him to sign. And if he doesn't sign, we make it so he has no choice." Silence. The kind of silence that isn't peace. It's decision. Ethan breathed shallowly. His chest tightened, and for a second, he was sure Grace knew, that she had seen, even sick, even weak, that the children were turning into people she didn't recognize, that the missing envelope wasn't an accident. The next day, Ethan tried to act, tried to go to the bank, talk to a lawyer, ask for help. But Logan showed up with the car saying he'd take him, and on the way, he detoured, stopped at the clinic. "Just a quick evaluation," Logan said, smiling at the receptionist. "My dad's been confused." Ethan opened his mouth to protest, but Mia appeared out of nowhere, already inside the waiting room, as if everything had been arranged beforehand. "Dad, it's for your own good," she said, touching his shoulder with fingers that had no warmth. "You've been forgetting things." Ethan looked around. White chairs, walls with generic paintings, the sound of air conditioning, a place where nobody screams because the environment swallows it. The doctor came in, Dr. Andrew Miller, gray hair, a trained gaze. "Mr. Carter?" Ethan stood up slowly, like someone carrying his own body on his back. "I'm not confused," Logan smiled. "He gets aggressive when we try to help." The lie was said with the naturalness of someone who rehearsed. Ethan stared at the doctor. "They want my house." Mia gave a short little laugh, fake sad. "See? Paranoia." Ethan felt the floor tilt, not from dizziness, from injustice. On the way back home, he tried to call an old friend, Frank Dalton, but the phone had no signal. Strange. He went into the living room and saw the router unplugged. Mia was in the kitchen, messing with something. "Did the internet go out?" Ethan asked. Mia didn't even look. "Must be a problem on the street." Ethan went to the window and saw the provider's truck passing, far away on another street. No problem there. He came back and found his phone on the table, screen dark. When he turned it on, he realized the SIM card had been removed. His blood went cold. It wasn't concern anymore. It was a siege. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat on the bed, staring at the empty side where Grace used to sleep. "I don't know what to do," he whispered, to no one, and to someone at the same time. And, as an answer, came a detail he hadn't noticed before. The photo of Grace on the nightstand was slightly tilted, as if it had been moved. Ethan picked up the frame. Behind it, taped on, there was a small note, folded twice in her handwriting. Just 2 lines. "Don't sign anything. Look for the blue box. Trust the plan." Ethan felt his hands tremble, a mix of fear and relief. Grace had left a path. It wasn't supernatural. It was intelligence. It was love with strategy. But where was the blue box? And why had he never heard of it? He heard a creak in the hallway. Footsteps again. Logan passing by slowly, checking if the bedroom door was closed. Ethan froze, the note hidden in his palm as if he were holding a spark. The game had truly begun. Do you want to know what happened when Ethan finally found that blue box and realized Grace had prepared an exit the children would never imagine? Ethan waited for the house to sink into absolute silence before leaving the bedroom. It wasn't courage, it was necessity. He walked slowly, with Grace's note folded in his pocket, feeling as if he were carrying a weapon, but with no ammunition. The blue box. Those 2 words hammered in his head as he crossed the dark hallway. The faint streetlight slipped in through the window cracks and cut the house into pale strips, like bars. He knew every corner of that place. He'd redone the floor with his own hands. He'd painted the living room twice because Grace didn't like the first shade. If there was a box hidden there, it wouldn't be somewhere obvious. Ethan started with the most likely place. The office. The door was ajar, the latch worn down. He pushed carefully and stepped inside. The smell of old paper and polished wood brought a quick memory. Grace sitting at that desk, organizing bills, always impeccable, always anticipating what the world would try to do to them. He switched on the desk lamp and the yellow light drew harsh shadows across the shelves. Drawers, folders, books, a toolbox under the desk. Nothing blue. Ethan crouched with difficulty and opened the low cabinet. His knee cracked. He held his breath, expecting the sound to wake someone. Nothing. Only the living room clock measuring time like a judge. He started pulling items out, one by one. Old bills, photographs, a school medal of Logan's, a childhood drawing of Mia's. Memories that now felt like evidence of a slow crime, the love he gave without realizing he was feeding greed. When Ethan was about to close the cabinet, his hand brushed a false back, a thin piece of wood, loose at the rear. His heart kicked. He pulled slowly. The wood gave way with a discreet snap. Behind it, there was a narrow space, and in there, almost pressed to the wall, a small box. Dark blue, matte, without shine. Ethan stopped for a second, as if the air had run out. The box had a simple metal clasp and an old sticker on the side. No words. It looked too ordinary to hide something big. But Grace never did anything ordinary when it was about protecting the people she loved. Ethan carried the box to the desk. The clasp's metal was cold. He tried to open it. Locked. A noise came from the hallway. Ethan killed the lamp immediately and went still, the box hugged to his chest, as if it were his own heart. Footsteps. Close. The wood floor complained under someone's weight. The office door opened a hand's width. Logan's silhouette appeared, standing there, sniffing the air like a dog that senses something wrong. Ethan curled behind the bookshelf, breathing short, trying to disappear inside his own house. Logan flipped on the ceiling light. The office turned too bright, too cruel. Ethan saw the bulb's glare catch on the blue box clasp and felt ice crawl up his spine. "Damn it," Logan muttered, staring at the desk. He stepped closer. "I knew it." Ethan froze. The box was in plain sight. Logan reached for it. Ethan reacted on instinct. In a sudden move, he knocked a heavy book off the shelf. The volume hit the floor with a crash on the other side of the office. Logan spun, startled, and headed toward the noise. It was the seconds Ethan needed, and maybe his last chance. He grabbed the box, staggered out of the office, and slipped into the hallway half-bath, locking the door from the inside. The latch turned with difficulty. Ethan pressed his forehead to the wood, trying to get air back. His body shook, but his mind was lit up. He had to open the box, and he had to do it before Logan realized. The lid was secured by a small built-in combination lock. Ethan ran his fingers along the bottom until he found a micro-label, almost invisible. 4 numbers written by hand. Watch 419, Grace's birthday. Ethan felt a knot rise in his throat. That wasn't just a code, it was a reminder. She was still there, in her way. He dialed 02419. The click of the clasp was low, but in that bathroom it sounded like a gunshot. The lid opened. Inside, everything was arranged with a frightening precision. An envelope with Ethan's name, written by Grace. A flash drive taped in place. A second key, small, gold, with a tag. Safe deposit, and beneath it, a thin folder with folded documents. Ethan pulled the envelope first. His hands trembled so much the paper made noise. He opened it. Grace's handwriting was firm, despite everything. "Ethan, if you're reading this, then they've already shown you who they are. Don't try to convince, don't beg, don't humiliate yourself. I've already seen the conversations, the looks, the tests. I know what they're doing to you, and I also know what you would do for love. That's why I needed to do for you what you wouldn't do alone. The flash drive has everything, the recordings, the messages, the proof. The key is for the safe deposit box at the bank, and the house is no longer what they think it is. I love you. Now run." Ethan stood there, rereading the phrase, "the recordings," as if the word had physical weight. Recordings, proof. Grace had foreseen the betrayal, and more than that, she'd built an escape route. A hard sound outside. "Dad?" Logan's voice came harsh, too close. "Open the door." Ethan shoved the envelope into his pocket, grabbed the flash drive and the safe deposit key, the folder of documents he tucked inside his shirt, against his chest. The blue box he hid under the sink, behind cleaning products, like it was just another forgotten object. "Dad!" Logan banged again. "You in there? Are you feeling sick?" The question was a trap. Concern with a second intention. Ethan turned on the faucet, letting water run to buy a sound alibi. Breathe. Control. He opened the door with practiced calm. Logan was there, arms crossed, face tight. Behind him, Mia appeared at the end of the hallway, phone in hand, like she was already ready to call someone, or record something. "What was that?" Logan asked, looking into the bathroom. "You knocked stuff over in the office." "I tripped," Ethan lied. His chest tightened at having to lie in his own house. "It's none of your business." Logan frowned, suspicious. His eyes traveled over his father's face, down, searching for signs, searching for guilt. Mia stepped closer, too sweet. "Dad, you're acting weird. You hiding something?" Ethan stared at his daughter, and that's when he realized. Her grief wasn't sadness. It was irritation. Like Grace's death was a logistical delay. "I just want to sleep," Ethan said. "Tomorrow we talk." Mia tilted her head, putting on that concerned daughter mask. "Tomorrow might be too late, Dad." The sentence hung there, and it didn't sound like advice. It sounded like a threat. Ethan went back to the bedroom with a heavy body and a mind on fire. He closed the door, sat on the bed, and stared at the gold key in his palm. At the bank, there was a safe deposit box. On the flash drive, there was everything. And Grace had said, "The house is no longer what they think it is." He needed to get out of there without being stopped. The next morning, Ethan tried a simple move. He left early, before Logan showed up. He put on a jacket, a cap, and slid the flash drive and the key into his inner pocket, tight against his body. The house was still cold, silent, with that false calm that comes before disaster. He opened the door and found Logan leaning against the car outside as if he'd spent the night there. "Good morning, Dad." The voice was gentle, but the look was a chain. "Where are you going?" Ethan felt his stomach drop. "Walk," he said, trying to keep his firmness. Logan smiled faintly. "In this weather? And alone? Don't do that." Before Ethan could answer, Mia appeared on the porch step, already too put together for someone who just woke up. The phone in her hand again. "Dad, we scheduled another appointment for you today." She spoke like she was announcing lunch. "Just to confirm everything's okay." Ethan understood immediately. They had shifts, coverage, a planned siege. He took a step to the side, trying to pass. Logan blocked him. It was a small gesture, but it was the final proof. It wasn't family, it was a cell. Ethan tried to go around him and his body failed. The dizziness hit hard, his heart raced, his vision went dark for a second. He grabbed the door frame so he wouldn't fall. Mia rushed in fast and held his arm, not with affection, with possession. "See," she said, loud enough to sound like concern. "That's what I'm talking about. You can't be like this." Ethan wanted to scream, wanted to say, "You're imprisoning me," wanted to show Grace's note, the key, the flash drive, but he couldn't. Not yet, not when they were waiting for a reaction they could use against him, so he did what he'd never done with his children. He swallowed the humiliation and pretended to agree. "Okay," he murmured, "I'll go." Logan opened the car door like a guard opening a cell. Ethan got in. The drive to the clinic was silent, only the sound of the turn signal and Mia's eyes in the rearview mirror, analyzing every breath her father took, like she was looking for a crack where the truth could leak out. In Dr. Andrew Miller's office, Logan spoke first, fast, rehearsed. "He's getting worse, he's confused, he thinks we want to harm him." The doctor looked at Ethan. "Mr. Carter, have you been feeling unsafe?" Ethan felt the flash drive pressing against his chest inside the pocket, like a secret burning. He opened his mouth to answer, and for a second, Grace's image hit him hard, not as a ghost, but as a living memory. Her saying, "Don't beg." He needed a physical sign, something that would break their game, something the doctor couldn't ignore. Ethan planted his hands on the chair arms. His breathing went short, sweat beaded on his forehead. And then, as if his body chose a single way to survive, he did something he didn't even know he could do. He reached out and grabbed the doctor's notepad, pulling it closer, firmly. It was small, but it was visible, coordinated, intentional. Logan and Mia stopped. So did Dr. Miller. Ethan looked straight at the doctor, his voice coming out low but whole. "I'm not confused." He swallowed hard, feeling his heart beating in his throat. "I'm surrounded." The air in the room changed. Logan tried to laugh. "Dad, stop that." But Ethan didn't break eye contact with the doctor. He leaned forward, like someone pushing through a wall. "I need to speak to you alone, now." For a second, Logan looked like he lost the ground. Mia squeezed her phone tight, ready to act. Ethan felt that was the first real opening. Dr. Miller hesitated, and then made a simple, professional gesture. "Logan, Mia, please wait outside." It was a command. And for the first time, someone outside that family ordered them. Logan tried to argue, but the doctor's look hardened. Outside. The door closed. Ethan was alone with the doctor. He reached into his inner pocket, took out the flash drive, and placed it on the desk like someone setting down a bomb. "My wife left this." His voice wavered, but it didn't break. She knew, and she proved it. Dr. Miller looked at the flash drive, then at Ethan's face, and finally asked quietly, "Mr. Carter, what exactly is on that?" Ethan took a deep breath, knowing that from that moment on, there was no going back. The truth. Dr. Andrew Miller didn't touch the flash drive right away. He spent a few seconds looking at Ethan as if he were trying to measure what was more dangerous, the possibility of a delusion, or the possibility of being in front of a lucid man about to collapse. Ethan held his gaze steady. His hands were shaking, but his face was decided, like someone finally choosing a side after years of avoiding conflict. "Mr. Carter, why would your wife leave this with you?" the doctor asked, low. Ethan swallowed hard. "Because she saw it before everyone else. Grace knew that. When she was gone, they'd come for what was hers, and for what was left of me. The doctor took a deep breath, opened a drawer, and pulled out a simple clinical laptop. You want me to look now? Ethan nodded. Now, before they invent another story. Dr. Miller plugged in the flash drive. The screen blinked. A folder appeared. Grace, proof. Inside, audio files labeled by dates, a few short videos, screenshots. The doctor clicked the first audio. Grace's voice filled the room, clear, steady, recorded like a testament without ceremony. If you're hearing this, Ethan, it's because I'm no longer there to hold the house with both hands. Ethan felt his chest tighten. The doctor froze. The audio continued. I installed the recorder in the office and another in the hallway, not because I distrust love, but because I recognize greed. Dr. Miller looked at Ethan, shocked. She recorded her own house. Ethan didn't smile. She protected it. It's different. The doctor hit play on the next file, and then the voices came. Logan, whispering in the hallway. He won't hold out much longer. Mia. The house is ours. If he doesn't sign, we make it so he has no choice. The room grew heavy, as if the air had been swapped for lead. Dr. Miller paused, mouth slightly open. This is serious. Ethan took the folded envelope and placed it on the desk beside the laptop. She also left the key to a safe deposit box at the bank. The doctor frowned. Do you want to make this official? Call someone? Ethan hesitated. Part of him was still a father. Part of him still wanted to believe there was a decent explanation. But the recording left no room for fantasy. He nodded. I want to get out of here alive and free. Dr. Miller stood and went to the door. He opened it a crack and spoke to the receptionist in a controlled tone. Please call clinic security and then the police. Family risk code. He closed the door carefully, like he was protecting a patient from an explosion. Ethan stared at the doorknob, hearing footsteps outside, feeling his heart pound like an alarm. They're going to hate me, he said, not realizing he'd spoken out loud. They're already doing worse than hate, Dr. Miller replied. They're trying to erase you. Outside, Logan started pounding. Doctor, is something happening? My dad's not feeling well? Mia joined in with that voice that was too sweet. If he has an episode, we need to come in. Ethan closed his eyes. He could picture Mia's smile as she said, episode. The word was a tool, a label to trap him in his own body. The doctor opened the door only enough not to seem hostile, but without giving passage. They can wait. I need to evaluate your father without interference. Logan tried to force a step. Security appeared in the hallway, a big man, black uniform, firm posture. He stopped between Logan and the door like a human wall. Logan laughed awkwardly. Seriously? Mia tightened her grip on her phone. This is abuse. We're going to sue. Ethan heard everything from inside, and strangely, he felt a cold calm. It wasn't peace, it was certainty. Grace had set the board. Now he only had to play. Minutes later, 2 officers entered the clinic. Officer Sarah Whitman and roster officer Daniel Reyes. The air shifted. When the law walks in, the lie has to work harder. Dr. Miller guided them inside. Ethan stayed seated, the flash drive and the envelope on the desk, like evidence of a domestic crime. Mr. Carter, Sarah Whitman said, her voice firm and human. Are you in danger? Ethan took a deep breath. I'm being coerced, and I have proof. Dr. Miller slid the laptop toward them. The recordings are here, and his wife anticipated this. Daniel Reyes frowned. The wife recorded the kids? Ethan spoke carefully, without melodrama. She recorded the truth. The rest is just family noise. The officer hit play on a short excerpt. Logan's and Mia's lines cut through the office like blades. Sarah Whitman didn't react with theatrical shock, just a look that hardened with professionalism. Okay, we're going to talk to them. Ethan's heart sped up. That was the part he feared, facing his children with authority beside him, making public what he always swept under the rug. The officers opened the door. Logan and Mia stood at the same time, quick, rehearsed. Logan stepped forward first, smile controlled. Thank God, officer, he's having delusions. He thinks we want to rob him. Mia added, with fake watery eyes. We just want to take care of him. He's alone. He just lost my mother. It's a difficult grief. Sarah Whitman raised a hand, cutting her off. We're going to speak calmly, separately. Logan froze for a second. Separately? Yes, Daniel Reyes replied. And any attempt to interfere will be documented. Ethan came out of the office leaning on Dr. Miller's arm. He didn't look like a sick man. He looked like a wounded man holding himself up. Logan saw the flash drive in the doctor's hand, and his expression changed. The mask dropped half an inch. What's that? Logan asked fast. Ethan stopped in the hallway, looked at both of his children, and, for the first time since Grace's death, he spoke without asking permission. It's your mother speaking about you. The hallway went quiet. Mia let out a short, nervous laugh. Dad, don't start with this. Ethan didn't look away. I heard you, at night, in the hallway. I heard every word. The sentence hit them like a slap. Logan tried to react with irony. You're making it up. Ethan took a step, minimal but heavy. I heard when you said I wouldn't hold out much longer. I heard when you talked about declaring me unstable. I heard when Mia said that if I didn't sign, you'd make it so I had no choice. Mia went pale. Logan clenched his teeth. Sarah Whitman watched everything without hurry. She'd heard plenty of versions of concerned family. And now she saw the pattern. The son talking over everyone, the daughter trying to control the mood, the father in the middle as an object. Mia tried to change the tone, voice turning tearful. Dad, you're hurt. You're twisting things. Ethan pulled Grace's note from his pocket, folded. He didn't show it yet. He just held it like an anchor. I'm not twisting anything. I'm remembering. Logan stepped forward, anger showing behind the smile. You're saying we're criminals? Ethan held the stare. I'm saying you forgot I'm a person, not a deed. A heavy silence followed. For a second, Mia looked truly human, like she was about to apologize. But then she collected herself. The mask came back, harder. Dad, she said, lowering her voice, poisonous in how controlled it was. You're going to destroy the family over an audio? Ethan felt his throat burn. That was where his father heart usually gave in. That was where he usually apologized for being hurt. But he remembered Grace's words. Don't beg. You destroyed the family, Ethan replied. I just stopped pretending. Logan turned to Sarah Whitman, trying one last strategy, victimhood and accusation. This is abuse. My dad isn't well. His wife died. He's manipulable. The doctor should be held responsible. Sarah Whitman didn't blink. We have recordings. We have the physician's report, and we have you trying to stop a private consultation. That doesn't help you. Mia tried a trembling smile. We just want him to go home. Daniel Reyes answered calmly. Maybe he shouldn't go back to the same house today. The line hit Ethan as relief and sadness at the same time. The house he built had become a trap. Logan finally exploded, without disguise. You're doing this because she left money hidden, aren't you? Because someone put ideas in your head. Ethan looked at both of them and felt the cruelest truth. They didn't miss Grace. They were angry at her for being smart. She left a plan, Ethan said. Yes, and the plan was to get me away from you. Mia took a step back as if she'd been struck. Her voice faltered, but she still tried to manipulate. Dad, please. We messed up. We were desperate. We were just afraid of losing everything. Ethan felt the word everything echo. It wasn't losing you. It was losing everything. He drew a deep breath. I understand now. Silence. And then, as if reality itself put a period at the end, Sarah Whitman said, Mr. Carter, do you want to file a report for coercion and attempted forced guardianship? And do you want to request a protective order? Ethan took a second. The father in him wanted to run from the word protective like it was a sentence. But the man in him, the one Grace tried to save, knew it was that or go back to being a hostage. I do, he said. Logan went still. Mia covered her face crying, but the crying was anger, not guilt. Daniel Reyes asked for documents, posed objective questions. Dr. Miller offered to document Ethan's lucidity and the pattern of coercion observed. Ethan was led to a private room in the clinic, away from his children. Inside, seated in a simple chair, he felt his whole body shake, not from illness, from release. When the tension drops, the body reveals what it endured. Dr. Miller brought him a glass of water. "You did the right thing." Ethan looked at the cup, then at the white wall. "I only did what my wife couldn't do while she was alive. Convince me." The safe deposit key was in his pocket. And now Ethan had something he hadn't had for weeks: time and protection to act. Hours later, accompanied by Daniel Reyes, Ethan went to the bank. The sky outside was bright, but the world still felt gray inside him. At the bank, a manager named Laura Bennett-Ika led Ethan to the vault area. The corridor had cold walls, cameras on the ceiling, heavy doors. Every step echoed like a verdict. Laura verified identity, signatures, procedures. "Mr. Carter, the box is active in your wife's name, with an access clause for you after her death." Ethan swallowed hard. Grace had tied it up legally, everything thought out. He put the gold key in the lock, turned it. The safe deposit box door opened. Inside there was another organized folder, and a second envelope, this time with a sentence written in big letters: "For when they think they've won." Ethan felt a shiver, not fear, respect. He opened the folder. Notarized documents, contracts, a letter from an attorney. And among the papers, an old photo of him and Grace in front of the house, smiling, as if they already knew. Daniel Reyes watched in respectful silence. Ethan pulled out the attorney letter. The name on the letterhead: Attorney Michael Harper. He read slowly, and the world seemed to shift its axis. Grace had transferred the house into a trust browse with clear rules. Ethan would have a lifetime right to live there and receive income. The children would only have access to the property later, and only if they met specific conditions of documented care and respect. Any attempt at coercion or forced guardianship would automatically break the conditions, and there was more. Grace had left Ethan a separate account, enough for him to start over, far away, with dignity, and an address already set: a small, discreet apartment, leased for 1 year, in another city. Ethan felt his hands tremble again. Not weakness, shock. Grace hadn't left anything hidden for the kids. She had left exactly what they wanted: the illusion that they could take it, and at the same time, she had left Ethan the chance to disappear from their map without needing to ask permission. Daniel Reyes skimmed it and let out a low whistle. She was very careful. Ethan couldn't speak for a few seconds. The knot in his throat was love and pain together. He could only whisper, "She saved me." And then, in his mind, the envelope line grew louder: "For when they think they've won." Because Ethan knew, Logan and Mia still thought they had control, still thought it was only a matter of pushing, but now Ethan had an exit and he had justice in his hands. And the question burning was simple and cruel. What would happen when Logan and Mia found out the house had never been within their reach, and that Grace herself had written the fall of each of them? Ethan closed the folder, holding it like he was holding a destiny. He wouldn't go back home that day. He'd go back only once, to take what was essential, and leave his children exactly what they thought they wanted. Ethan returned to the house late in the afternoon, accompanied by Officer Sarah Whitman and Attorney Michael Harper. It wasn't a movie escort. It was a simple gesture of protection. 2 people to make sure he could collect his things without being crushed by emotional blackmail. The car stopped in front of the facade that for decades had been synonymous with home. Now it looked like something else, a beautiful building with hunger inside. The lawn was poorly trimmed. The porch light flickered as if the house itself was tired. Ethan stepped out slowly, feeling his body fragile and his mind firm. It was a strange combination, like glass that doesn't break anymore because it's already cracked all the way through. Sarah Whitman looked at him. "Do you want us to go in first?" Ethan shook his head. "I want to be present when they look at me." Michael Harper held a thin folder, the trust documents, the clauses, Grace's letter. That was the heart of the plan. And it was also the blade. The door opened before they even knocked. Logan appeared, forced smile, eyes too alert. He saw Sarah's uniform and Michael's suit, and for a second, his confidence wavered. "Dad," Logan said, faking relief. "Thank God. We were worried." Mia appeared right behind him, face red, not from crying, but from barely disguised rage. "This is ridiculous," she snapped, looking at Sarah. "You don't have the right to come here." Sarah replied calmly, "We're here to ensure Mr. Carter can retrieve his personal belongings, without conflict." Logan turned his eyes back to Ethan, trying to regain control of the room. "Dad, let's talk. As a family." Ethan stepped inside and smelled the house. The smell of wood, of old photos, of Grace. It was cruel, like a memory that cuts. "Family," Ethan repeated without irony. "That's what you said I was to you, while you planned to get me out of here." Mia crossed her arms. "You're stuck on that middle-of-the-night thing. Dad, you misunderstood. It was a vent. We were tired." Ethan stared at his daughter. "Tired of what, Mia? Of seeing me alive?" The silence that followed wasn't surprise. It was confirmation. Ethan went upstairs carefully, grabbed a small suitcase from the bedroom, and chose quickly what to take. Clothes, meds, a photo of him and Grace on their wedding day, his father's old watch. Nothing with market value, only soul value. While he packed, he heard Logan and Mia arguing downstairs, low enough to seem discreet, loud enough to be heard. "He must have hidden something," Logan whispered. "Obviously," Mia replied. "That box, that folder, there's something." Ethan came down with the suitcase in his hand and heard Michael Harper say, firm, like someone cutting a knot, "Mr. Logan Carter, Ms. Mia Carter, I represent the interests of Mr. Ethan Carter, and by extension, I'm here to carry out the legal wishes of the late Grace Carter." The word legal seemed to bite. Logan put on a fake smile. "Ah, so that explains it. Lawyer, of course. How much did she leave him?" Michael didn't take the bait. He opened the folder and pulled out a letter in Grace's handwriting. "Before we talk about documents," Michael said, "there's a message." Mia stepped forward like she wanted to snatch it. Sarah positioned herself, blocking with her body. Michael began to read, without theatrics. The strength was in the content, not the tone. "My children, if you're hearing this, then I was right to distrust. I saw the hurry. I saw the tests. I saw the way you treated your father like an obstacle and not like a man. You will receive exactly what you deserve, the weight of your choices. The house is not a prize, it's a mirror, and you will look into it every day. Ethan, if you made it this far, I ask you one thing. Don't negotiate with greed. Leave with dignity. I love you." The room went still, as if the entire house had held its breath. Mia broke the silence first, with a short, unhinged laugh. "That's manipulation. Even dead, she wants to control us." Logan, colder, more dangerous, pointed at Michael. "Okay, enough theater. Where's the deed? Where's the document that transfers it to us?" Michael Harper inhaled, opened another sheet, and set it on the coffee table, the same table that still carried glass rings from the wake. "This is the summary of the trust created by Grace Carter," he said, "and the clauses are already active." Logan grabbed the paper like he was clutching a winning ticket. Mia leaned over his shoulder. Their eyes ran down the lines, and then locked. The color drained from Mia's face. Logan frowned, reading again, like he could change the letters by force. This is wrong," Logan said, voice rising. "She couldn't do this." Michael was blunt. "She could. She did, and it's on record." Logan slapped the paper on the table. "So the house is my dad's. Great. He keeps it. We just wanted to secure the future." Ethan stepped forward, suitcase still in hand. "You still don't get it, Logan. The house isn't your leverage." Michael continued, cutting off the attempt to rewrite the narrative. "Ethan has a lifetime right of residence and use. The children would only have access to the property in the future under specific conditions, and one is clear: any attempt at coercion, forced guardianship, fraud, or threat invalidates the benefits." Mia made a sound between sob and rage. "That's a lie. That's interpretation." Sarah Whitman spoke, dry. "There are recordings. There's a report on file. You can contest it in court, not here. Logan stared at Ethan, eyes burning. You're really going to do this? You're going to abandon us? The line sounded like accusation, but it was an old trick, flipping the guilt. Ethan took a deep breath, and then came the hardest part, not because he feared them, but because of what he had to kill inside himself, the hope that they would change. I'm not abandoning you, Ethan said. I'm saving myself from you. Mia stepped in fast, her voice now a desperate whisper. Dad, please. We messed up. We were scared. We didn't know what to do without Mom. Ethan looked at his daughter and for an instant saw the child she once was, the girl who ran down the hallway with scraped knees, and that hurt. But then he remembered her line on the recording. If he doesn't sign, we make it so he has no choice. Ethan didn't flinch. You knew exactly what you were doing. Mia began to cry for real, but it wasn't remorse. It was loss of control. Logan tried one last move. He stepped close to Ethan and lowered his voice with contained rage. You're going to walk out of here and I'm going to fix this. I'm going to tear down that trust. I'm going to prove you're incompetent. You'll come back. Sarah Whitman moved instantly. That's a threat. Noted. Logan took a step back, realizing too late that he'd said it in front of authority. Ethan felt his hand tremble, but not from fear, from disbelief. He was hearing his own son threaten to imprison him. It was real. It was grotesque. He released a short sentence without shouting, like a verdict. It's over. Michael Harper handed a second document to Sarah, a request for a protective order and a recommendation for an independent evaluation to prevent future manipulation. Clean, legal. Grace had left the map. Michael was only following it. Mia stared at the paper, then at Ethan, and her mask finally cracked. So that's it? You're going to keep her money and leave us with nothing? Ethan answered with a calm he didn't know he had. You're not left with nothing. You have your own conscience, if it still exists. The impact was immediate. Mia covered her mouth like she'd been punched. Ethan took Grace's photo from the shelf, the same one in the silver frame, and put it in the suitcase. Not out of spite, for protection. He wouldn't let her image become decoration for cynicism. At the door, before leaving, he stopped. He looked at the living room where he'd lived birthdays, arguments, reconciliations, movie nights with popcorn, and for a second he felt Grace's presence not as magic but as a firm certainty she had done what needed to be done. Logan, in a lower voice, asked, almost without meaning to, "Where are you going?" Ethan looked at him one last time, without hatred, only with distance. To a place where I don't need permission to exist. He left. Recovery wasn't pretty. It was real. In the first days in the new apartment, small, clean, quiet, Ethan would wake up startled, as if expecting footsteps in the hall. His body still carried the fear of the old house. But slowly, the silence stopped being a threat and became rest. Dr. Miller recommended physical therapy and follow-up care. Sarah Whitman helped with the protective order process. Michael Harper organized everything Grace planned, the income that would guarantee stability, the legal shield, the formal notices to prevent any attempt at abusive guardianship. Logan and Mia tried. Of course they tried. They sent long messages, switching between guilt and fake affection. Then came veiled threats. Then, when they realized the legal path was closed, came the last resort, emptiness. They vanished, like people withdrawing their own presence as punishment. Only now, for the first time in his life, Ethan didn't chase after them. He found support outside the house. His old friend Frank Dalton, when he finally made contact, showed up with a bag of food and a hug that asked for nothing in return. And on an ordinary afternoon, Ethan sat in a park, watched children running, and realized something simple and enormous. He was still alive. And that was enough to begin again. Months later, the old house was still standing, but it was something else. For Logan and Mia, it became what Grace promised, a mirror, not a prize. A reminder of what they tried to do. Ethan never slept there again. Not because he was afraid, but because he didn't need to prove anything. He didn't need to win by staying. He won by leaving. The moral was short and hard, like a truth that doesn't ask permission. Sometimes betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the ones who learned to call you dad while treating you like an inheritance. And still, justice exists. Not the justice of revenge, but the justice of leaving whole, of not letting greed turn you into a thing. Grace didn't come back, but she left a path, and because of that, Ethan didn't end as a victim. He ended as a man. And now, to close without breaking the mood, comment which part of the video you liked most.